going to read something I wrote. Let me get this one here. How about here?
Yes.
I'm going to read something I wrote up a few days after I found out that he was gone. But before I do, I just want to sort of preface this that I already did read this at a vigil that Teresa from Don't Shoot had thrown together pretty quickly. It was just a couple days after. So some of you may have heard this. And I just also want to, thank Teresa and Don't Shoot for, honoring Malcolm in her way as well. I met Malcolm at Don't Shoot events originally. At the time, Don't Shoot was actually sort of my organizational home. My favorite event was the feed-in. We would get together at a church in Northeast and make food, and people were invited to come and eat, but we'd also go out and deliver it to folks in the streets, and that was just one of those recurring events that helped me to feel connected to my community. Malcolm and I ended up being roommates in 2020. Pandemic, massive protests. It was a very intense time. This is when he went from being a friend to a comrade, something more like family. He would say we were lifeboat partners. We had some of those heavy conversations about worst case scenarios, and honestly, this actually seems a lot closer to a best case scenario for him to go sleeping in bed inside his cozy apartment where he lived with his cat Stella. Malcolm was a fuck up, like a lot of us. That was at least in part due to some early trauma. The first half of his life was apparently not so inspiring. For the portion I knew him, For the portion I knew him, you could say he was evidently trying to make up for it, paying some debt. But along the way, he must have unearthed and developed parts of himself that were admirable and strong, protective, caring, pure. He didn't share only those best parts of himself with us. He shared most of it. And maybe the Malcolm we know is a different person. Or maybe it's a larger portion of the whole and complex person he grew into. I guess he helped me believe it's never too late to choose the path of truth and love. And even if you make mistakes, you don't have to give up. Isn't it funny how our worst traits can be our best traits, depending on circumstances? Stubborn or dedicated? Foolish or brave? Gullible or genuinely caring? Reckless or passionate? His numerous contributions to our community cannot ever be forgotten. Some people never survive or recover from addiction. Some people lose themselves. Some people lose track of hope and the bigger picture. Some people die truly alone after a short and painful life. That wasn't Malcolm. Malcolm understood the assignment. Malcolm lived, and he poured everything he had into human connection, into the community, and he will be remembered and cherished for all that he was. Now he finally rests. When people knowingly act selfishly, we hold them in contempt. But what about when people choose the righteous path? Do we cheer them on every step of the way? The path requires repeated decisions, over and over again, even after making mistakes, to again choose good and care. That is admirable, to not give up or give in. Using one's privilege for good isn't straightforward because privilege only exists in relationship with oppression. Someday soon, the victories will overshadow the confusion. Mal was always on that path.
Beautiful.
And so now I think that we'll hear from Dan Shea. That was Veterans for Peace, Malcolm's organizational home, as far as I